have you share with us what the problem was that you saw, how you identified it, and why you started down this journey.
The system that I'm developing with my company right now is a small, lightweight cockpit video recorder for commercial aircraft. So it's essentially designed to help in accident investigations, but it's also useful for maintenance purposes and pilot training. And I came up with the idea, I would say I was approached by an innovative and forward-thinking aviation company in town that was looking for a cockpit video recorder for their fleet of aircraft, but they didn't find anything on the market that fit their specific needs. And so they approached me to develop this, a system for them, or develop a prototype for them. And it was a really good fit for me because my background is in search and rescue and emergency management. So I participated in the search for a citation jet that crashed in Kelowna a few years ago. And so that incident was near to my heart, and I thought that this would be a place where I would be able to use my skill set to innovate and to help make the aviation industry safer.
How did you have time while pursuing an undergrad and then a master's degree at UBCO to be involved in search and rescue?
That's a good question. I joined search and rescue when I was a third-year student, undergrad. So I did that during both my undergrad and my master's degree. The way I usually explain it is that most calls come in at night or in weekends. So it actually works quite well with being a student, but there'd be occasions when I'd be out all night on a rescue and have to write some exams the next day.
Did the company provide you with the customer discovery you needed in order to create the prototype, or did you have to go more broadly out to the industry?
They did a very good job of explaining the technical criteria that they were looking for in a solution, or the technical requirements. But I felt like their industry was very specific. I knew that this was a problem that was larger to the industry, not just to their specific needs. So when we went through the Lean Launchpad program, we did a significant number of customer development interviews, and not just focusing on the helicopter industry, but also on fixed-wing aircraft, and across a broad range of industries ranging from forest firefighting to corporate aviation as well.
Tell us about that journey of figuring out who you were going to interview, finding those people, and I know I helped with some, but that was something you initiated, getting in touch with them, figuring out what questions you want to ask, figuring out what to do with that information. Tell us about that journey.
Maybe I'll start with what kind of questions to ask, and that was something where I sat down and I kind of created a whole list of questions, and I showed them to my mentors in the program, and they crossed out half of them. They're like, no, we need to change this around. And typically the challenge is when you're creating a customer development interview is to focus on the larger big picture ideas. Don't focus on trying to sell your idea, but rather focus on identifying their needs and the pain points for that customer. And that will also help with getting more interviews. If you're not selling a product, they will be much more likely to talk to you and provide insight into their industry.
So you did sort of frame it a little bit as, I'm a student trying to find a way in this, got entrepreneurial aspirations.
Right, yeah, so that was another good addition that one of our mentors pointed out, and that we should leverage our position in the Lean Launchpad program to, again, make this more appealing to people that we're asking for interviews for. And so we clearly wrote in our email, we're UBCO students participating in an entrepreneurship program, and we phrased it that way.
When you got the data, what did you do with it?
Yeah, so we collected all the results on a Google Drive. Basically, we had separate forms for each customer or company that we talked to. And then once we had all that information, we were able to combine it in a spreadsheet and categorize each different question and really narrow down and look for commonalities. And then There will obviously also be some large discrepancies where different industries will require like totally conflicting items. So those are some decisions that you'll have to make in terms of what direction you'll take your company in, maybe what is the most profitable direction to go in initially, and then later down the road build out features that would appeal to some other industries.
Did you run into people that poo-pooed the idea completely and said it was unnecessary, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I would say, especially in our field, a lot of pilots are not very happy about the idea of a camera recording them in the cockpit. But again, you need to be talking to the right people in the company and the decision makers. So we found that a lot of time it would be the chief pilot or someone who is responsible for the safety management system or for like the operations chief, for example, that would be more likely to be looking for a system like this and to be the one to actually implement the system. Yeah, I would say they are the individuals that understand the needs of the company, and they're the ones that have the pain point. It's not the pilot that is thinking about maintenance issues. It's the person that leads the maintenance department, right? And he's the one that can't fall asleep at night because he's thinking about these problems. So that was definitely key, is identifying the right individuals to talk to. But I would say also being able to remove yourself from your product, even though a lot of us are very passionate about what we're developing, is to be able to look at this objectively and gather information rather than being too invested or emotionally invested in the product. And it requires making some changes to your idea, but in the long run, that's going to be a product that the industry is looking for.
What did you change as a result of your customer discovery?
Initially, our idea was to have a complete camera system that runs a computer vision algorithm on board to be able to analyze all of the gauges in real time and digitize those values. So imagine you're looking at an analog gauge like a speedometer and taking that and using computer vision to get an actual number out of it. So that was the initial idea, and what we discovered is that customers were really just looking for a camera, a better camera than there was out there. So we decided to kind of split our product into two parts and say, we'll develop the hardware, and then as an add-on for those customers that want advanced analytics, they can use our software.